It began with violence. The ocean, vast and endless, seemed to hold its breath. Seabirds vanished from the sky, and along the coastlines of Japan, the tide receded unnaturally fast, leaving fishing boats stranded on the sand. For a moment, people stared in confusion. The sea had never looked so still, so deceptively calm. And then the horizon rose. What appeared at first like a dark line at sea quickly transformed into something monstrous. A wall of water, higher than the tallest buildings, stretched from one end of the horizon to the other. It advanced not as a wave to surf, but as a black, moving mountain. The sound came next. Deep, unrelenting roar, louder than thunder, as if the earth itself were splitting apart. Windows rattled miles inland, and the ground trembled beneath the force of the approaching flood. When the tsunami struck, it did not break like ordinary waves. It crushed. It consumed. Coastal defenses of steel and concrete shattered like toys. Seawalls collapsed instantly. Fishing towns disappeared within seconds, the sea swallowing houses, streets, and lives as if they had never existed. The water surged inland with unstoppable momentum, carrying ships across highways, tossing buses into the air, smashing buildings against each other. Entire neighborhoods vanished in a single sweep. Roads became rivers. Rivers became oceans. There was no boundary between land and sea anymore. All of it became one. In cities, glass towers shivered as the torrents tore through their lower floors. Lights flickered before exploding in showers of sparks. Subways became drowning chambers. Shopping districts that once pulsed with life turned into black canals of debris. Fires broke out in some places, only to be extinguished moments later by the raging tide. Mountains and valleys fared no better. The waves climbed hillsides, pouring over forests, uprooting trees, and turning slopes into waterfalls of mud and ruin. Sacred shrines that had stood for centuries crumbled as the water surged through, tearing away their gates and statues, dragging centuries of history into the abyss. People fled, running, climbing, clinging to whatever they could. Some reached rooftops, waving desperately for rescue, only to be swallowed when the second wave struck, taller and more merciless than the first. Families were separated in the chaos, voices drowned in the endless roar. To the tsunami, human strength meant nothing. To the sea, everything was debris. The disaster did not come and go in one strike. Wave after wave followed, each more powerful than the last, leaving no chance for recovery, no pause for breath. The flood advanced deeper inland, turning farmland into black swamps, drowning entire cities, reaching places where people believed they were safe. By the time the ocean began to recede, nothing recognizable remained. Villages had been erased. Ports were gone. Bridges were snapped in half. Towers that once scraped the sky now lay shattered, their steel skeletons rusting in the salt water. Silence returned, but it was not peace. It was the silence of absence, of a world swept clean, of lives carried away without a trace. Japan's coastline had become a graveyard, an endless sea of wreckage stretching to the horizon. Where once there had been laughter, festivals, and the rhythm of daily life, there was now only the sound of waves lapping against walls. The tsunami had left behind not just destruction, but a reminder of nature's merciless power. A reminder that in a single day, the ocean could rise and unmake everything mankind had built over centuries. And so the sea remained, vast and indifferent, carrying away the echoes of a nation drowned. When the waves finally withdrew, they left behind not land, but ruin. The coastline was unrecognizable. Where once there had been villages, ports, and fields, there was only a shattered wasteland drowned in silence. Roads had been erased. Rivers had been twisted into new courses. What was once home had become an ocean floor, littered with fragments of lives now lost. Survivors wandered through the wreckage, stunned, carrying nothing but the clothes on their backs. They moved silently, as if sound itself had been taken by the sea. Children stared at the horizon, waiting for parents who would never return. Farmers searched for their fields and found only mud and salt water stretching endlessly. Entire communities were gone, as if the ocean had reached out its hand and erased them from history. And then came the silence, heavier than the roar that had preceded it. A silence filled with absence. No birds, no voices, no laughter. Only the faint hiss of waves retreating into the distance. The tsunami had not just destroyed buildings and roads. It had stripped away memory, belonging, and time itself. In the end, what remained was the lesson of the sea, that all human ambition, all the monuments of stone and steel, all the fragile patterns of daily life are temporary. Against the ocean, nothing endures. The tsunami had come like a beast out of the deep, and with it, it carried away an entire world.